Welcome to the Service Academy Information Channel, where we discuss all things about Service Academies, Service Academy news, Service Academy nomination, and Service Academy appointments. And today I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I hope that you find it interesting. It's a little bit of the behind the scenes look at what an interviewer does to prepare to interview candidates for Service Academy nominations. So let's get right into it. So the first thing that I do before I do anything is I review the latest available class profile for the 4 service academies. Of course, we don't interview for the Coast Guard Academy because they do not require congressional nomination. But what I do is I review the latest class profile for Army, Navy, Air Force, and Merchant Marine. And I make sure that I'm pretty familiar of what it took to get into that class. And so when we have candidates come before us, we kind of judge where they fit in the rack and stack of it. So that's the first thing that I do. The second thing that I do is I review the honor code / honor concept for each of the 4 academies. I want to make sure that I totally understand what the honor code is, and I want to be able to ask a question about it. I want to be able to know it, and I want to be able to form a question around the honor code, honor concept for that specific academy that the candidate is looking for. So if I don't know what the honor code or honor concept is for that academy, I really can't ask an intelligent question. The third thing that I do is I do a read-through of the website for each academy. I don't go and read every little detail, but I just go through it. I make sure I'm familiar with what's on the website, what they're putting out there, what their recruiting material says, what they're telling people who are interested in going to one of the service academies. When they go to the admissions portion of that website, what's there, what they put out, and if I have any questions, I just drill down a little bit deeper in that website and I try to answer the questions for myself. The websites differ immensely between all 4 schools. The Air Force Academy has one that covers a lot. The Army has one. The Navy's pretty good. The Merchant Marine, not so good. But that's just the way it is. But I go and I review those websites and I make sure I'm pretty familiar on what's on those websites. So once we get past all the general stuff, the familiarization with the academies, honor code, websites, and all that, hopefully, the office will send me a list of the candidates. And I'll get a list of all the candidates and I will go through that list of names. The first thing that I do when I go through the list of names is make sure that I do not personally know anybody on that list. Make sure none of those people went to school with my kids. I'm friends with their parents, their aunt, their uncle. Maybe I had helped them in the process along the way. I just make sure that I just do not know them because it is just not a fair review to go and interview somebody that I know. It's just not fair to other people. So when I get the individual files, and they usually just put on a secure website, maybe a Google Docs website with a password, the password protected, I'm able to go in and I look at the individual files for the people that I am scheduled to interview. And I really like to do this at least a day or 2 before the interviews, so I have a good idea of who I'm interviewing and what type of questions I want to answer and what the person's background is. Because one of my favorite sayings is never ask a question that you don't know the answer to. And I don't want to be surprised when I ask a question for something that's already in their file. So what do I do when I look in those files? Well, of course, the first thing I do is look at the SAT, ACT scores, see how they did. I go through the transcript. I go through the whole transcript from 9th grade to present. I look at what kind of classes they took, how they did in those classes. I look for honors, AP. I look for college level classes. And I also look for anomalies where maybe back in 10th grade they failed a class or 2. I want to know why they failed those classes or why they did poorly in classes. Maybe there's a really good explanation, or maybe it's just something in their personality where they said, I just don't want to do that. And I like to just delve into that a little bit. I also go through their extracurricular activities, and I use that as a broad-based thing, which is from organized sports, club sports outside of school, but organized school sports, club sports, which might be outside of school, and extracurricular activities such as scouting, 4-H, church groups, volunteer work, all of that. I really want to get a good picture of how they spend their time outside of school. I think the transcripts, the SATs, and all that give you a good idea of academically. But I think by looking at their extracurricular activities, whether they went to Boy State, whether they were an Eagle Scout, a Gold Star Scout, Model UN, all that. Look at all that and see what they've done outside of regular school. Because the perfect candidate isn't somebody with 1,600 SATs and straight A's. A perfect candidate is probably somebody with maybe 1,500 SATs and did all this other stuff and is captain of the football team. We're looking at the total person here, and I want to make sure that I understand what that person is about and be able to ask them intelligent questions about that. Now, the senators and congressmen, they ask for essays. I will do a quick read through the essays. I can read pretty quick, and I will just do a quick scan through it. A lot of the essays that people put out there are boilerplate, and that is perfectly fine. I mean, we're not looking for Hemingway or F. Scott or anybody like that. I mean, people are going to put down what they have to put down. They're going to put down, a cognizant organization of what they did, what they want to do, and what they want to do in the future. I get it. But I will read through that and see if anything pops up, anything that out of the ordinary pops up that deserves a question, that deserves a little bit more probing. So I just do a quick read through that. The next thing is letters of recommendation. Go ahead, get ready to put the comments below. I do not read the letters of recommendation. I will look at who sent them. I will look at, you got one from the math teacher, the English teacher, the scout leader, the principal, the pastor of the church, whoever. I would just look to make sure that collection of people are there. I will not read the letters of recommendation. The reason that I don't read the letters of recommendation, because once again, they are pretty boilerplate. Johnny and Janie's the greatest scout that ever lived. They organized the National Jamboree. While there, they got the merit badge for curing cancer, and they're just the greatest, and they should go to West Point. Okay, I've read this a million times. We don't need to read it again. So if you don't agree, go down below. It's fine. It's my opinion. It's how I do it. So after doing all that, I will take a blank piece of paper and I just will outline a couple of the key points, and I will write down maybe 3 to 5 questions that I will ask that individual. Because when we interview, there's a team of people, and I can't ask all the questions. We have to, distribute the time among the other board members. They have to ask their questions. So I'll make sure that I have my 3 to 5 top questions that I want to get in, and I'll make sure that I ask those during the interview. So that's kind of how I prepare to interview a candidate, some of the background. Hopefully none of this is surprising to you. Maybe the letters of recommendation are, but like I said, that's how I do it. Okay, so just to diverge away from the individual, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my setup and how I do the interviews, a little bit of the technology behind it. And maybe this will help you when it comes time for your interview for somebody like me. So how do I do the interviews? Well, it's very simple. Believe it or not, I find that my iPhone in a vertical orientation over the Zoom connection is the best way to do the interviews. I set it up on a tripod. We all have these cheap tripods with a phone holder. I plug it into a charger so it doesn't lose power. I hook into the Zoom meeting. I can see everybody's little face on there, and it works seamlessly. I found that the iPhone is the best tool for doing Zoom interviews. Now, if I had to do a Zoom business meeting, I would have to use my computer, of course, because there's a lot more that goes into it. But just for talking heads back and forth, the iPhone is the best. Since everything is electronic, all the files and everything are electronic, I do use my iPad. And I use my iPad because I can open up somebody's file, I can open somebody's resume or transcript or whatever, and I can use my pencil, my Apple Pencil, to take notes on that file. And that's what I do. It's just very simple for me to do that. I will also have a pad, and I'll make some notes on the pad. God forbid we lose, connectivity or something crashes, but I will make notes on the pad. So before I even get to that point, I make sure that my setup, everything behind me is clean. There's nothing questionable back there. There's nothing that's going to distract the candidate. I try not to put anything from my academy back there because I don't want to skew that person's answers, especially if they're going for my academy. So just like I tell everybody out there, make sure that your background is clean, there's no clutter, there's no junk, and there's nothing that you would not want somebody to see. And that's just very simple. I always wear a button-down dress shirt, and I always wear a tie when I'm doing a Zoom interview. A lot of my colleagues will just wear a golf shirt. They might wear a golf shirt with the Academy insignia or some type of military insignia on it. I expect you to be in a jacket and a tie. I will be at least in a tie. I will not sit in a jacket in my chair all day, but I will have a dress shirt and a tie, and hopefully I look neat and presentable as I expect you to look neat and presentable. So that's it. That's the behind the scenes. I hope nothing here surprised you. I hope you get a takeaway on what you have to do and make sure that all your ducks are in order for your applications, your transcripts, all that stuff that you submit to the congressmen and senators, because people like me do read these things. We do go back through the transcripts. We do look at the scores. We do look at the sports. We do look at everything all the way back to 9th grade. We will do a cursory review of your essays, and some of us will give a cursory review to your letters of recommendation. So that's it. Good luck with your interviews. I hope you get what you want. If you have any questions, put them down below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Bye now.